So the next section we're going to talk about is wireless LAN. Wireless LAN. And we're going to start with the fundamentals. Now, it's amazing. We were having some conversations in here, and there's people in here who can't remember when we only had wired. And there's nothing wrong with being young. I'll never complain about somebody being young. I'll be jealous, but I won't complain. Right? But think about it. Imagine the day when we were all tethered by a wire. Does anybody remember? I remember. I certainly remember, right?
That still is the case today. Even when you have wireless products, you still have wire connecting regardless. There's still...
In certain places, but I know that there are some customers who... I can't tell you the last time I hooked my PC up to a wire. I cannot tell you that. Other than hooking a USB port here, I can't tell you the last time I hooked.
But even the access points have wiring.
Oh, they absolutely do.
That's what I'm saying.
But from a user perspective, yeah.
You can have mesh that literally is stuck into an outlet, and there's some access points that can even be powered without being plugged into an outlet. You can use vibrations to power the battery.
Right. But again, for the most part, when you think about networks, there tends to still be an understanding that true wireless end-to-end and all connection points is a concept still.
Well, it's still a concept. There's still going to be places where you have to do. I mean, in a data center, right?
Right.
I mean, you're not going to get enough on wireless bandwidth-wise to replace 10 gigabit, 40 gig, or whatever, and for quite a period of time. But let's just think about wireless from a perspective of how it's changed our world and how it came to play. Wireless has been around a long, long time. Does anybody remember the first wireless phones that we had at our houses? Anybody remember those? What frequency did they operate on?
Television frequency.
Yeah, the 900 megahertz. Yeah, 900 megahertz frequencies. Yeah, and they were, great range and all that. But what was the negative of those? What happened to be started being the negative of the 900 megahertz phones that we had at our house? Wasn't secure. First of all, people could hear you. It was great when you first got it, but then your neighbors got it, and they'd be on your channel and all this. I have a pair of 900 megahertz wireless speakers that I still use in my backyard for sporting events and stuff and everything. And I have a neighbor across the street who has a 900 megahertz wireless phone still. It's really old, and I can tune it in and actually hear them talk. And hear them talk on that 900 megahertz. Now, 900 megahertz goes a long way, but you didn't get a lot of bandwidth. Guess what? At the same time, we used to have wireless LAN type connectivity using 900 megahertz. You got up to like 1 meg of throughput, 1 meg of throughput on the thing, and it was revolutionary. But nobody knew about it. Not a lot of people knew about it, so it was very, very unique and very specialized. As the frequencies moved, what happened? People said, I can't use this 900 megahertz. I've got to go to something that's more secure. I don't want people listening to my phone calls. So I went to 2.4 gigahertz. You went to a free spectrum, 2.4 digital spread spectrum, DSS, right? And then they couldn't hear you, and you had the little things, phone settings that you had to choose your channel and all this, that, and the other, so nobody could hear you. What happened to that space? Why are we still on that today? What happened? Everybody got on it. Everybody went from 900 megahertz to 2.4. So what happens? Everybody piled on, and the 2.4 spectrum and then we had interference. You couldn't tell what they were saying, but your phone didn't work very well. So then what did we do? We jumped to another frequency. What frequency was it? 5 gigahertz. The 5 gigahertz spectrum. Another free spectrum that we could use out there. And they went out there and everybody started going to 5 gigahertz. Interference free. And then as everybody went from 2.4 to 5 gig and wasn't interference free. So now they got this DEC stuff. What's this DEC stuff? Where is it operated? Yeah, it says it's 6 gigahertz. It's actually 1.9? Uses 1.9, I think. But they call it DEC 6.0. And it's like 1.9. It's outside of the spectrum of all the other devices that we have. So it's going to kind of be probably a little safer. these spectrums get full. I will tell you today that when we started this, they started standardizing back in the late 90s, and they actually started creating standards where everything would work together. And that was a great, great thing. Because you used to have all these different companies with all these different, we used to have frequency hoppers and digital spread spectrum and all these things, and none of them would work with each other. So customers just, hey, it's not really a big thing, it's not part of my business model, so I really won't do it. But once it became a standard, and people started using it at home, boy, it jumped right back into the business in big time. Cisco didn't invent wireless for sure. They acquired a company called Aranet. Aranet was the market leader at the time, and probably had the best engineering, best technical at the time solution, I thought. But Cisco became, the market leader overnight in wireless at a great time when the standard was there and people were starting to bring it back into the business and all these different things. But Cisco found out, and we'll talk more about this, we found out that we weren't as smart as we thought we were. What do you think Cisco does whenever they acquire a company? Your company's been acquired. Maybe some other people know people who've been at companies that are acquired. The first thing we do from a product perspective is we try to get everybody on our operating system, our iOS. When we acquired Aranet, the first thing we gave them is new hardware access points, the 350 series, and we upgraded them to iOS, to our software system that had every feature known to man. We converted their software, their operating system to iOS and ran that. Made it the smartest access point in the world. Smartest access point in the world. Wasn't anything this thing wouldn't do, which was maybe not the best thing to do up front. So let's see how this wireless works. Wireless is not that hard to figure out basically how it works. So let me just draw a building in here. Let's say this is a floor plan of a building. I have access points that are sitting here. They're working here. And we have clients, whether it be PCs or mobile devices, whatever they are. The process to get on the mobile network is really a two-step process. Two-step process. And by the way, you don't even have to use one of the steps if you don't want to. So let's look at it. The client associates with, client, with the access point. The access point is the gateway to the wired infrastructure, right? They're wired into the infrastructure. They take wireless devices and bring them in, let them access the wired infrastructure. It's really what they do. The client associates. That means that this PC looks out there and says, wow, I see a wireless access point. I want to be on your network. I want to be on your network, or I want to be on your network. All things being fair, if I'm a client that's in between these two guys, we could actually talk to them and ask them about it. So if all three of these gentlemen were access points and I'm a client, the standards for this are actually pretty cool that I could actually say, well, you all three look like you're equal. Let me ask you some questions. How many users do you have on you? How many users do you have on you? How many users do you have on you? I can actually make a determination of which of these guys are actually the best access point for me and bring me the best service. What's your utilization? Asking them questions. So the client actually gets to choose the access point based on this interrogation of multiple access points. And then the access point, if he says, well, I want to be on your network. You seem to be the best. You could stop right there and let people on your network. How many of you have got on a wireless network that you weren't supposed to? How many? Everybody has. Why get wireless when your neighbor's giving it to you for free? Right? It's really the way it is. Because if you stop right there, it's over. You could get on a network. Come on! No security at all. No security at all. The second part of this is probably important. You associate here. How about you authenticate? Let me write this up. It's where the access point challenges the client for some kind of credentials. Access point challenges the client. You, in essence, say, hold on, give me some credentials before I let you on this. That's all wireless is. Now, what do you use as credentials at your house? You have a SSID. You try to hide that. You attach, and then you have a shared key. You might have a key that's got so many letters or characters, or might be a phrase or this, that, and the other. Might be Linksys or whatever, so please change it, whatever, by default. But you might, but yes, it's a authentication. At home we use shared key. So I have a lot of devices, and I have a shared key for all the devices. Why does that not work for us as a business? Why would we not want to use that as a business? Let me give you
Because it doesn't work.
Well, first of all, let's just think about this. There's 70,000 people inside of Cisco. Let's say on Blizzard, instead of you having to log in with your username and password, we had, let's say, Blizzard as the access to it. Shh, don't tell anybody outside of Cisco. It's our secret. All right, you take your laptop, you put it in your automobile, you go somewhere, you leave your laptop in a bag, somebody steals it, what happens? I've got to get you a laptop, and I've got to touch 69,999 PCs and change the authentication. What really identifies you as you? It's your login name and password. So our authentication in a business model is totally different than what we want at home. We want you to be able to give us a unique ID and password, and we want to give you a unique security connection. And that's what we do. So when you log in, when you do this, access point says, hold on, give me your login name and password. He promotes it. He sends that back down to your AAA server. What's a AAA server? Has anybody ever heard of AAA server? Anybody? Yeah. Authentication, authorization, and accounting. Yeah, we sell those, by the way. Yeah, AAA server. That means authentication. You've got the right login name and password. When you were hired, part of the hiring manager's package is they say, okay, do you want to support him on a network? Absolutely. So they have you got that little email or whatever it was that said, here's your login name, your email address, and here's your first password. It might be something very cryptic, and as soon as you logged in, what did you have to do? Change it, yeah. And then they say they want it to be 8 characters with, a capital letter and a number, and, you have to do this when you're typing it or whatever to make sure you get it. Yeah, but it really makes us know that you. So that's how we know you get on our network. Customers used to tell me wireless is insecure. And I'll say, guess what? Wireless installed is probably more secure than your wired network. Because I've been in your wired network. I used to go to customers all the time. If I could get through the door, set my PC down and plug in, I'm on their network. This time, every time you connect up, you have to have authentication. You have to have it. The AAA server says it's who you are, where you can go, when you logged in and when we log you out, or when you logged out. The last time we saw you. That's what AAA does. So this access point was forwarding that to this body to do that for us. And then when they said yes, they could come on, they actually sent your first key, encryption key, to the access point and said, here's the first key for this guy, his security. So everybody had their own unique security and encryption key for everybody. So you had your security key, you had yours, and I had mine, and we rotate those keys randomly. So it's very, very, very secure. All the information that passes between the PC, it's encrypted with a key that rotates. It changes. Very secure. Very secure. We have to, that was one of the biggest pushbacks we ever had. I had a customer that was at a savings and loan institution. And he just about came across a table on me when I talked about wireless. Literally, his eyes bulged out. I called him frog eyes. He really did. He leaned across the table and said, we don't do wireless. We're a financial institution. I mean, he jumped at me. I said, whoa, pull the eyes back in, dude. Whatever, right? What do you say to a customer who says wireless is unsecure? What do you say? I don't do wireless. It's not secure. What do you tell a customer? No, you might say that. Here's what I said. How do you know you don't do wireless? How do you know you don't do wireless? If I hid that access point where nobody could see it, could you tell you had wireless in here? Can you smell it, hear it, taste it, see it? You can't do any of that. You don't know if wireless is out there or not. It's the device, you have to have a device to do it. Have you seen some of those little access points that they used to have that were about this size? I was doing a training class in Southern California, in Long Beach, and I was at a Marriott down there. While I was at that Marriott, we were at the far end of the complex, a resort complex, and there was not very good wireless reception out there. Now, I, being the instructor, had bought a wired connection, so I had great response. The students in the class were nothing but mad about it. Oh, the wireless sucks out here, technical term. And they were complaining and complaining. So what did I do? I went out to Fry's, went and got me a Linksys, about like that, brought it in the next day, hooked it up, said, here's the connection to the Linksys, it's open, quit complaining about the training, let's keep going. I actually put an unauthorized wireless connection on that network, and nobody ever said anything to me. So the Frog Guide guy, when I told him, hey, listen, how do you know you do it? Of course, my account manager kicked me really hard, and he had those sharp-toed shoes, those look like European shoe things. Man, he kicked me right in the shin, gave me a good bruise. He kicked me, and guess what? We ended up selling him access points to do nothing but intrusion prevention. He didn't want to do wireless, but he couldn't prove he wasn't, because somebody could bring it in and hook it up in behind the firewall out there. So what do? We sold him wireless to prevent wireless intrusion prevention. There's no document for security that doesn't include wireless in that, even back then in 2002, 3, and 4. So today, you've got to have some kind of wireless security solution, if nothing else. So clients connect up. Now Cisco, again, going back to my story here about Cisco, we put iOS and made these the smartest access points in the world. These PCs. Let's say I had a meeting right over here. I take my PC and I start walking. And I walk from here over to here. I'm going from one cell to another cell. It's called roaming. Roaming from one cell to the other, similar to what you do with your cell phones. These things have certain range and everything. At some point about right here, my PC determines this access point's not giving me as good a range as that access point, good a signal. So I'm going to jump from one access point to another. Let's say while I'm traveling between there, I'm pulling down my PowerPoint files because we're having a Cisco meeting, so we have to have PowerPoint. So I'm downloading. What happens to that download? Stops for just a second while I authenticate off this access point to this one. Just stops for a second and then continues on. Single sign-on. Cisco had the ability to do that. Customers loved it. Loved that single sign-on, roaming, that seamless roaming that we had. Kind of worked pretty well. It'd do the same thing here and the same thing here, and then I'd get to my meeting and bore people with PowerPoint. That worked. That was happy. It was all data and everything worked. But then Cisco started selling some other stuff on there. We came up with these little phones. SpectraLink was our first phone that we actually partnered with to put on there. We could have voice over wireless LAN. That's when the problem started. That's when it really started. So let's just think. I get my phone, we set up a special VLAN. A special VLAN called VoiceNet on here. So this guy, I'm working on Blizzard here. If I want to have a special network there, I create a separate VLAN called VoiceNet, and I put all my voice devices inside of that. Give it prioritization, more bandwidth, the ability to make sure that gets voice works really well. So I'm happy about that. I get these devices and I hook them up. So I hooked that device up. So it's on VoiceNet, I'm on Blizzard, everything's working, I'm downloading my file, and I just pick up and I start walking. And as I start walking about right here, my wife calls. Hi, honey, how are you? Yeah, won't you just tell me the things I've probably done wrong today while I go to my meeting? And if you need to, I'll cancel the meeting just so you can continue. So let's just talk about this. So we're talking to my wife. As we walk from here to here, and I'm on my phone talking to my wife, what happens when I get to here? No, the call dropped. Right? So the call drops. As that 1 second, that just little 1 second that this stopped, guess what? That phone call failed. That phone call failed. And what happens? It re-authenticates. Now it's back on. Well, who do you think calls me back immediately? Did you hang up on me? Yeah. Well, no, honey, it's the technology. It's this wireless stuff. Don't blame technology. You geeks are always talking about that. It's always the technology. No, my wife never. It does it again there. She calls back when I'm in here. What do? Let it go to voicemail. There's nothing I can do that's going to help me now. I'm already done. Yeah, that 1 second. That 1 second of stopping and re-authenticating was 20 lifetimes on a phone call. 20 lifetimes. And the problem is this device was so smart, he knew everything about the network. And this person was so smart, they knew everything about the network. And it took a second for them to figure out that they were even both there. That second killed my phone calls. Now, Cisco came up with a solution with this. Let's say it required a Catalyst 6500, a $40,000 supervisor, a $45,000 line card, about 20 hours of engineer time drilling these tunnels through all your network and all this. Probably not the best solution that we had. So Cisco has these little cards they give out, and one of them says, no technology religion. So they exercised that option. And they went out and acquired another company to fix this. Because this was a place when being smart is not really smart. So they acquired a company called Airspace. And this has been a great, great acquisition for Cisco, because all of a sudden Cisco said, let's not make our access points smart, let's make them lightweight or dumb. Some people call them dumb. Instead of me putting all the features here, 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 and here, I'm going to put a new device in my network called a controller. And that controller is the brains for all these access points. He's the brains. This guy used to have his brain, now his brain's down here, same as his brain. So instead of going from one brain to another brain to another brain, when I go between these access points, I'm going from one finger to another finger, same brain. We engineered this and used to say we have to have 50 milliseconds between that roaming to keep that call up. We do it in 8 milliseconds today, routinely. The calls work, the video calls work now, and all that. Cisco had to adapt their technology. These are called lightweight access points. And light is right. Yes, sir?
So was Airspace the company that developed, already had that controller? And
Yes,
bought it?
we bought it and we went from competing with them saying, God, lightweight is so terrible, to the next week, lightweight is the way to go. Absolutely.
You struck that all about our access points and changing to theirs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, our access points, we came up with we call it an upgrade, an iOS upgrade, to make it from a smart access point to use the controller. Absolutely. Yeah, to a dumb one. So I don't know if that's an upgrade or not. But Cisco had to do that. Why? Because of the change in the rules. It went from a data world to a voice and video world. Voice and video centric world. And people were dying for this. This was a part of their business model that they wanted to have. Wireless had already embedded itself in all their business process. All the business process. People started bringing it in and all this, that, and the other. So in our technology that we use, light is right. We use lightweight access points, controllers that we'll talk about. Now these controllers could be smaller ones, that can support up to 50 access points. Or we can be big ones that support 1,000 or more access points, depending on what you want to do. So we'll look at those products in the product section. Does that make sense? Controllers. Now we have this BYOD stuff that's coming in. And again, I think BYOD is probably the easiest way to have a conversation with a customer about everything you do. It really is. It really is. I love having those conversations with my customer to lead them where I want them to go. Because you can certainly get to all the different technologies and all this. But what does BYOD mean to your customer? Yeah. Bring any device anywhere and be able to access any information from it. Is there any security concerns with that? Yeah, absolutely. We can have multiple networks on this, so any Cisco access point can have up to 16 VLANs on it. We can prioritize those VLANs and prioritize the traffic on those. And wireless is kind of like being on a hub, by the way. You guys, so let's say all of these people, I'm an access point, and all of these people are my clients. I could have multiple ones on, some could be iPhones, some could be iPads, some could be PCs just running data, whatever. And they all could be out there. I could have different networks and everything, and I can prioritize that. And I get to choose who gets to talk. It's kind of like a walkie-talkie, wireless is. Remember walkie-talkies? People still use walkie-talkies. I still use them when I hunt with people and everything. But walkie-talkies, what do you do with walkie-talkies? You press to talk and then you release. Why? Because if you keep talking like this and both people talk, it doesn't work, right? Same thing with a wireless. That's why people have requests. So if this person wants to send, he raises his hand and says, I have a request, and I get to tell him when he can talk. If you're a PC and you've been waiting for a while and all of a sudden this phone over here raises its hand, I'm going to say, hang on, you still got to wait because I got to let that phone go. So that's QoS. We have the ability to do that across our portfolio. It's kind of a difference between what you have at home and what you have in the business. But you can have up to 16 VLANs. You can have these controllers to do this. And now we need to be able to look at this from as you bring these devices, we want to start prioritizing them about what you can bring on. So in order to tie that, we have our Identity Services Engine in the back end. Now our Identity Services Engine is one of our newer products, actually. Yeah, ICE. ICE, baby. Yeah. A lot of these people don't remember that, but they don't remember. But the ICE, yeah, you do. You do. You do. But you do too. Vanilla Ice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So the ICE, the Identity Services Engine. The key to this is now we can actually have people register their device. If we want them to bring the device in, that's great. We give them ability to do it, but we want them to register that device so we know what that device is. We don't just let anybody on our network, of course. So they can register that device. And we can put profiles in that device based on just about any parameter you want. Time of day, location, application you want to... I don't think we can do the color of shirt yet. But you can actually get very granular with this. So if you're a new employee and you say, I'd like to come in, but I'd like to bring my iPad, and that's going to be one of my primary devices, and my iPhone, and of course the PC, then guess what? We can say, all right, we'll fit your profile in. You can bring your iPad, and we can register that and your iPhone, and it'll work on our network. If not, then guess what? The best you're going to get is GuestNet. You're not going to have access to all the bells and whistles back there. Is that important to a customer today? Is that important? Absolutely. The control of it. We're not stopping people from doing this. We can't stop them. But we can control it and limit our vulnerabilities behind this. So actually this integration between our controller and ICE is very, very slick. It's a relatively new product, really designed specifically for this wave of mobility. What about troubleshooting this? Early on, what do you think IT thought about wireless when we first introduced it to them? What do you think? When they were just wired? They hated it. Why did they hate it? Why did they hate it? Why did the help desk hate it? I can hear it now. I had a customer who he looked at me and he says, I do not want wireless in here. I do not want wireless in my network. And it was the manager of the desktop support. And he told me, he says, do you know how many more calls I'm going to get? I can hear it now. Monday morning, 5 minutes till 9, somebody has a meeting at 9 o'clock. My PC was working wirelessly perfectly on Friday, and it's not working now, and it's an emergency. You've got to fix this. You've got to fix this. And the desktop support person saying, well, what changed? Nothing. I closed down my PC and I went home. Really? Yeah. They finally get into the PC and look at it, and they're got 6 different networks and games loaded on it. Oh, well, my son might have been playing with it at home. Yeah. IT didn't want it. Could they stop it? Not at all. There's no stopping this. No stopping. It has too many business benefits and it has too many cultural benefits. It's a culture thing. It's a culture thing. Again, somebody said, if you want to bring BYOD to a customer, it used to be buy them an iPad to executive and just wait. Just be a little bit patient, because they will force it down their throats. What about troubleshooting this? We need some kind of tool to troubleshoot it. Yeah, Prime. What's Cisco's history in network management? Anybody know? Some people have been around here for a while. Yeah, a lot of different management products, applications. What's our reputation amongst our customers? Not good at all. Not good. Cisco has had many, many LAN management tools out there, and I'm telling you, they all sucked. Technical term. Technical term. Prime is the first network management thing that I would probably suggest the customer use. That's the truth. It is actually good. Before it wasn't. But Prime actually wasn't homegrown at Cisco. It was actually acquired by Airspace. And Prime network management allows us to look at the access point, the switch or the router that switches and routers you're connected to, the controller, and the ICE all in one pane of glass. So if somebody actually calls in and says, hey, I can't connect up on the network, I could actually say, all right, hang on a second, where are you at? Oh, I see you. It looks like you might be beaconing out for your home network versus ours because I can see it up there. And then, oh, hang on, right. Oh, you're right. I need to do Blizzard. Okay. It's still not working. Well, actually, it looks like your authentication's bad because you can actually see what ICE is seeing as your login. Failed authentication, wrong password, wrong password. Yes?
Does that mean that ICE only works on Cisco APIs?
No. You can pull other information back into it. SNMP, whatever. Does it work better on Cisco? Absolutely.
Yeah, because there are some features that are not working in the rest of the...
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, we're always going to have features outside of SNMP, and if you want to load MIBs and all this, and you want to pay for MIBs, you can get it. But you probably, it's always going to Cisco's always going to work better on Cisco than anybody else. Everybody's like that. Everybody's like that. Really is. But will it work with other access points? Yes. Very SNMP compliant. We can pull information absolutely through that. We can be an authentication for anybody else. But Cisco can work with other devices. There's too many protocols out there to do that. But will it work best Cisco on Cisco? Yes. Yes, sir.
A couple times you mentioned Blizzard. I don't know who you're talking about.
Blizzard is our wireless network in here. It's our wire.
This is Hurricane. So the fact that I see that Hurricane, that's associated with Blizzard?
Well, Hurricane, Blizzard, there's other ones. Are you using Jabber and all that?
Not yet.
Okay, well, because Blizzard is the default at Cisco across all the offices. Hurricane is kind of like the next wave, I guess, that they're... For BYOD stuff? Okay, yeah.
What was given me and it's...
All right, okay. Well, there's also a couple more that I have Jabber loaded on this. There's an actual separate network for just a Jabber for people who are using Jabber video and voice and all this, that, and the other that's out there too. So there's multiple, like I said, there's multiple networks on this. Yeah.
I was trying to guess something, but I had no idea.
The idea is that Hurricane will have device registration in the future, so they can.
Yeah,
do certain-
exactly. They're going to migrate people off of Blizzard to Hurricane.
Okay, then I'm on the way.
Yeah, you're on the right one. Does it work? It's the right one. Well, it's the right one then. It's the right one. Yeah, Blizzard would probably work for you too. But does this make sense with wireless? Yeah. It's not. Don't think this is rocket science. Now, you're never going to kill your quota with wireless. You're never going to kill your quota with wireless. You're not. But it's probably the biggest thing that's going to drag everything else with it today with BYOD and all the things you can do. Because wireless in itself is, I had an account manager who said, I'll never make my quota of selling wireless, but I can make stretch if I sell it on all my deals. Yeah, because it was an afterthought. Today, it's the pre-thought. It's actually dragging the switching and the network management and all this other stuff with it because it's the discussion point. It's the discussion point. It's the point of the spear, but it's not the thick shaft that actually does all the penetration as far as your quota goes. Yes?
Can I rephrase my question?
Yes.
What if a customer went with a different technology than ICE? I mean, a competitor.
Yeah.
Does that mean that I'm going to lose, let's say, the access points of that?
No. I mean, again, this controller, he's going to talk through this controller.
Can be managed by different.
Access, any device, there's a whole protocol called SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol, right? It's a standard. I can manage anybody's stuff.
And they can access all features.
Yeah, if they can access all the standard features, and then you can load little software inputs into your network management called MIBs that actually unlock all the specialized stuff. Now you have to pay for the MIBs. You have to pay somebody to give that access to you in your network management. But if you pay for the MIBs to be able to do that, then you can do anything you want to with that, practically. Well, he rephrased it. He's tried it twice. Right. Oh, absolutely right. He's saying, can I use ICE with Prime or the wireless with Prime or whatever? Prime is Cisco. Prime is primarily Cisco. You can manage other devices SNMP, but it's not going to give you a lot of the bells and whistles. You can do that with anything. But
You can use ICE on other.
yes, absolutely.
So there's the AAA functionality within ICE that's kind of agnostic to any vendor. There's the onboarding, profiling, posture checking, and the guest lifecycle management that you can do on pretty much all the technologies. It all depends on how you want to configure it. So it doesn't really bind you to Cisco. You can install it on any other platform. But of course, there are some things that work better with a wireless controller from Cisco than other vendors.
Yeah.
But you can still do it.
Yeah. And again, it's a security product that we're introducing here, but again, it's generic. It's a AAA server. It could be just a AAA server for you. That's what it was. It was actually two products. It was NAC, Network Admissions Control, and it was Cisco ACS. And they merged the two products together. Now, Prime would be a separate box over here. We would do network management across here to be able to view this, and this across the board.
Well, the reason I'm asking is I have one of my accounts.
Mm-hmm.
I have two opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
One for wireless, one for ICE.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
There's overlap there.
There is an overlap.
Yeah.
Yes. I think they made their decision to go with Aruba for
Wireless.
Not the wireless, but the management.
Mm-hmm.
So will that affect my?
Well, anytime you have, they have a point here. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. The reason why they went with Aruba is because Aruba has a management platform that can do both Aruba and Cisco in terms of wireless and wireless.
But doesn't us do the same thing?
No, you're confusing. So there's a management piece and a security piece. That's part of the whole BYOD stories, right? So if you want to compare Prime, you compare it to something called Airwave. And Airwave does both wired and wireless management in terms of SNMP collection. They have the access to the Cisco MIBs. They can get them and they can manage configuration, firmware, and audit all the switches. If you take the ICE piece, there's a different product called ClearPass that does pretty much the same thing that ICE does, but in a different way. So it's all about integration, about what they want to do and how you want to position those products. But if you look at feature comparison, they're they're very much alike, except for the fact that because Aruba is a smaller player, they had to go and manage Cisco switches and access points to be able to convince customers to go with them as kind of a transition. Right? So that was kind of.
So in essence, they get a 2-for-1, right? Cisco's going to come in there and say, oh, you could do ICE and you do Prime as separate, and it kind of looks different. Where in this case, you're getting one that kind of does two. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But then what would be my niche thing to say to convince them to go with Cisco Wireless now, since they went with Aruba first?
No, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
based on your experience,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
how can I kill competition here?
so if they've got the back end, right, then you're going to have to talk to about the features up here. You're going to have to talk about the MediaNet type features that are out here, the video and all this, that, and the other.
There's a whole bunch of new features coming from Cisco wireless solution that kind of put us.
Yeah.
Cleaner is one of them. Planting, you have video streaming, you have application visibility and control, which is part of our old NBAR application recognition. So, I mean, we can have a language.
Well, we're actually going to talk about that. Yeah, we're going to talk about the features. So what you've done is you've lost it out here, but you can still make it up out here in talking about what a customer's going to do with wireless, because that's the important part. This is just the back end. All right, so we'll talk about that. So again, this is the infrastructure and everything. So again, let's go back to what customers are going to do on these devices. Again, I used to have 2 devices. What do I have now? What do I have? I have one device, an iPad. What can I do on an iPad? What are the things that I might want to do on an iPad if I BYOD? I want to do email, so data applications, right? I want to do that. What else? Video. Can I do a high quality, high definition video? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Can I do training videos, I am presence, WebEx, right? All those different things. All those things are what I'm going to do with that. Does that make that network have to do more? Makes the network have to do more from the infrastructure, the switches and the routers and everything with MediaNet and all that stuff we talked about. What about on the LAN, or the wireless LAN? What are the things on the wireless LAN that we've got, that those requirements have changed, again, from just a PC accessing data to that? So let's look at that. First of all, how many options do I have? Can I do wired and wireless on an iPad?
No.
So what's that mean my wireless network's got to be?
Strong.
More reliable, right? It's going to be the only network I have. I can't say, oh, wireless is down, give me a cable. It's not going to work. So my network availability's got to go up. So some of the things in our wireless network we might want to have is the availability of these access points to read interference. Do you think there's going to be more or less wireless devices in a network? More. What are some of the things that interfere with wireless? What are things that interfere with wireless? Other wireless devices, maybe? Yeah. Microwave ovens, absolutely. You know what microwave ovens, how microwave ovens work? They use a frequency to make the molecules rub together. That's how you create heat and cook things. That frequency is 2.4 gigahertz. The same frequency that we use here. Yeah, we're only using 100 milliwatts and they're using 1,500 watts. So we're only slow cooking you with wireless. But that's a joke. It's not really true. But it is. It could be interfere. How about Bluetooth? Does that interfere? Bluetooth. Yeah, all these little headsets, all these little bugs in people's ears. I've gotten several taxis lately, and the taxi driver, I'll say, hey, take me to here, and all of a sudden they're talking, and I'm saying, what are you saying? What are you saying? And he's like, oh. He's pointing to this little thing in his ear, right? Because he's using Bluetooth. Will that interfere with wireless? In a contact center, if you have a contact center solution and all these people are using these wireless, is that going to affect their wireless on your iPad? Absolutely, could. You could walk right through there and not be able to do video. It could interfere with you that much. How are we going to prevent that? What do we want? We have to have intelligence on these guys to be able to see that interference on certain channels and be able to move. To be able to move. That is called clean air. Cisco acquired a whole company that did nothing but had a spectrum analyzer. They paid hundreds of millions of dollars for a company that had nothing but spectrum analyzer. And what they do? They took it, they shrank it down, put it on a chip, and put it in our access points. Our access points can actually look at all the different frequencies across 2.4 and 5 gigahertz without any performance hits. Without any performance hits. And be able to pick and choose the best channel. And be able to move to that channel and drag its clients with it. Without nothing. In wireless, there's the 2.4 spectrum and the 5 gigahertz. There's some differences in these spectrums. Which is oldest? Which is the oldest, the ones that you use first? 2.4, so it's the oldest. How many channels do you have? Yeah, it depends on where you're at. There's 13 total channels here, depending on where you're at, how many channels you can use and everything. Can you use them all at one time? No, there's only 3 non-overlapping channels. There's 13 channels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down to 13. But if I'm on channel 1 and somebody else is on channel 3, do we interfere? Yes, there's overlap there. There's only 3 non-overlapping channels in this whole spectrum. 1, 6, and 11 here in the US. So that means if I wanted to put access points in this room on this band, I could only put 3 in here that wouldn't interfere with each other. How about over here, 5 gigahertz? Is there more non-overlapping channels there? How many channels do they have over here? 20, what is it, 23? 23 now. Yeah, 23. Originally there was 18, now there's 23. Yeah, 23 channels. And how many of them are non-overlapping? Huh? It's actually like 20 of them, right? It's like 20 of them. It's like 20 of them are non-overlapping. So you get a lot of channels. Now when you start bonding them, that's when you get 9. Yeah, but you get like 20 channels of non-overlapping. So I could have 20 access points in here in that spectrum. Which do you think's got a future and which do you think's not?